Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Get Started with Sage HR Online Services. My name's Duncan, I'm one of your presenters today and I am joined by my colleague Calvin, who will be co-presenting alongside me. We'll have a quick run through of what we're going to cover today. So I will shortly be handing over to Calvin, who will be taking you through how to set up Sage HR Online Services in Sage 50 Payroll. Once he's been through the setup steps, he'll then demo how to upload payslips and also P60s and how to view those documents in the online portal for Sage HR Online Services. I will then return to give you a closer look at the online portal, including some of the settings that can help you configure what information is available to see, and the process for dealing with starters and leavers, and also the change of email address. We'll have a quick look at the employee portal to give you an idea of what your employees will see, and then Calvin will return to give you an overview of the Sage HR mobile app. And then we'll run through some of the further support available and stick around to answer any of those final questions. So we expect the presentation to take approximately 45 minutes. And as I say, we will stick around at the end if there are outstanding questions that you'd like us to answer. So with that said, it is now time to hand over to Calvin, who's going to run us through setting up online services. So over to you, Calvin.
Thank you so much, Duncan. Okay, so let's have a look at the setup of online services. So we'll take you through a couple of slides first, and then what we'll do is we'll jump into the program and I'll show you those setup steps in the program as a live demo. So there are 7 steps when it comes to the online services settings. You have steps 1 to 3, which is where you'll be creating your Sage HR admin user and a Sage ID, registering your company, and then adding any additional user permissions to upload payslips. So the key there is the upload payslips part when it comes to those user permissions. It's all about what you can do within Sage 50 Payroll at this stage. You'll notice as well on the screenshot that steps 1 and 2 have ticks, so that is a completed setup settings window. The reason that only the top 2 steps have ticks is you'll see when we go into the demonstration and go through it a little bit later on that steps 3 to 7 can be revisited at any point and can be redone, and it's part of general processing as well. So steps 1 and 2 you only need to do once, but 3 to 7 you can come back and change at any time as well. So steps 4 and 5 is all about setting up your employees and creating their Sage HR profile. This is done by either uploading. Apologies, I realized that the text wasn't on the slideshow there, so we've brought that up for you. So, steps 4 and 5, as I was mentioning, is setting up your employees and creating their Sage HR profile. So to do this, you'll be uploading either historical payslips, but you can actually skip this step, which is step 5, and do it by uploading a current payslip. So when you upload the very first one, whether it be a current payslip or a historical payslip, this will create a Sage HR profile for that employee. When that happens as well, I've got a little screenshot in the next slide as well to show you. That will trigger a welcome email to your employees, who will then be able to view their payslip and of course set up a password as well. Now step 6 is showing or hiding holidays on payslips. So if you record your holidays in Sage 50 Payroll, you can just choose to have these on the payslips or whether to have them off the payslip. So it's a simple case of clicking show or hide. And step 7 is a link to go and visit your online portal. So you don't have to type in any URLs or bookmark a link. You can just go and visit step 7 and that'll take you straight to the portal itself. So I mentioned that employees will receive a welcome email. So here's an example and a screenshot of one. And this is where the employees will then be able to create their password and Sage ID using the email address that you've entered into the employee record. At this point as well, they will have a link to go and log in to their portal to view payslips as well. Now, one thing to mention, the employees will receive a notification email whenever you upload a payslip as well to let them know that their payslip is ready to view and or download. So what we'll do now is we're going to jump into the program. I'll go through those steps. We'll show you each one by clicking on Do It Now, and then we'll go back to the presentation because the next step will be uploading some payslips. So here we are in our program. All we need to do is click on Company in the bottom left-hand corner, and then go to Online Services Settings. This can also be found in Online Services in the bottom left, and you'll see Online Services Settings is here in the top left as well. Takes you to the same window though, so it's either or. There you'll see we have those 7 steps available. So first we need to sign in to our online account. So let's click Do It Now. This will bring up this window. Now, if you already have a Sage ID and you want to use that Sage ID as the main HR admin, then you would simply enter that and enter your password. If you haven't created a Sage ID, you can create one by clicking Create Account here. So we'll pop ours in. And then the password. And just click Login. That will log me in, and you'll see the tick appears next to step 1. Now, as we've already registered this company, that tick remains for step 2. But if I click Do It Now, just to show you what will happen, you'll just get a message to say that your company is now registered for online services. So this is the company that you are logged into. And you can click OK. And that's step 1 and 2 complete already, and you are now set up and registered for Sage HR Online Services. Step 3 is managing those access rights. Now remember, this is all about who can access uploading payslips via Sage 50 Payroll. So you may well have multiple users who log in and run the payroll. You can set each user up to be able to access online payslips within the program or not. So if you want some to be able to do it and others not to, you can set that up as part of step 3. So if we click Do It Now, you'll see we do have, when it loads in, you might be able to see the faint writing there. There it is. So we've got a user, which is myself. So I'm currently logged in with the manager username, but I do have my own username. And here you've got the access. So you've got 2 to tick, 1 for online payslips and 1 for global changes to online payslips. Then underneath this is where you can enter their Sage ID. So this is about step 1. So if you want them to log in via step 1 using an additional Sage ID, so the one that they have, which is theirs, you would add that ID, so the email address, in this box here. So you would just click Add User and then type the email in this box. And then if they ever leave the business or move on to better things within the business, they might get a promotion, you might want to delete them. So tick the box and select Remove User, and then just click Yes. And that removes it. So all you need to do is make sure they've got the right access via the tick boxes and add in their Sage ID down here. That's step 3. So the next one is step 4. Now this is managing your employees. So this is setting them up for online services within Sage 50 Payroll program. This is in order to be able to upload and then of course publish those payslips. So if we click Do It Now, you'll see here the email addresses are automatically populated. As you've entered them in the employee record, you'll not need to enter them twice. You can, of course, make amendments and changes here if you wish to, or add them manually. However, if they're entered the employee record, they'll be pulled through. So it'll just be a case of double checking that they're right and then ticking the box for each employee who you want to set up for online services. Now, some may not want to use this. It's up to you how you want to handle that and manage this. However, if you give the employees the option and some choose not to, maybe they prefer the printed version still, you would just simply untick those and tick the relevant employees. We're going to go with all of our employees though, so we'll tick that box at the top right and click Save. That's your employees set up. Now the next step, which is step 5, as I mentioned, This is optional, but when you upload a historical payslip for the first time, this will create their profile within Sage HR Online Services, or you can do that via a current payslip. So depending on whether you want their employees to have access to their previous payslips in the portal, or whether you want to start afresh from the next payslip available. Up to you on that one. We'll go ahead and upload historical ones for this year, so 2023. So if we go click do it now, we'll be entering in our date range. So you can click on the calendar, you can't manually type it in. So we mentioned 2023, so we'll go from January the 1st up to today's date, and click next. There we have our employees who we set up in the previous step. We're going to highlight all of them by ticking that box in the top left. Click next. You can see we have our 5 employees who each have 4 pay slips that will be uploaded. So January, February, March, and April. So we go ahead and click Publish Payslips. Now this can vary in speed depending on how many employees you have and of course what your internet connection is like. So it can be quicker or slower on other days than it is on some days. Luckily ours was quite quick there, and you'll see that message comes up to say your payslips have been successfully published or published successfully. You can access the online portal to check if you wish to at this point by clicking this button. We'll be accessing that a little later on, so we'll just click close. That's step 5 done. Step 6 is all about displaying holiday entitlement on payslips, and it's a simple case of either clicking show if you want to have them appear on the payslip, or hide if you don't want to have them appear on the payslip. So there isn't too much to step 6. There's even less to step 7. That is a simple link to go and log into the portal itself. Now we'll be avoiding that one because, as I mentioned, we're going to jump into the portal a little later after the next step. So that's the setup steps. So we've gone through all of those. Once you've done that, you're up and running with Sage HR Online Services. So that brings us to the next part, which is all about uploading payslips and P60s. So you saw a brief glimpse into it when we uploaded historical payslips, but there's a couple of key differences we'll show you. The first one is payslips. So when you upload a payslip, you can choose to publish those payslips immediately, or they can be scheduled on a selected date. So you can publish them on a specific date if you wish. So in our example, we're going to be running May's payroll. As you know, we're at the beginning of May, and I might not want my employees to have those pay slips until a couple of days before pay date. So we'll be publishing on a scheduled date. However, you can, of course, publish those immediately. Now, with Sage HR Online Services, you don't need to upload and then log into the portal to then publish. They'll be uploaded and published, or scheduled to be published, all from within Sage 50 Payroll. So that's payslips. A quick note on P60s, and again, we're going to jump into the demonstration after this slide. You'll see here, some of you may have gone through payroll year end already. The 31st of May deadline isn't quite upon us yet, but it's coming up pretty soon. So you can upload P60s if you wish to, and we'll go through that demonstration, and you'll see it as part of the year end process. And just one thing with this is you'll need to remember to change your process date to the 5th of April. And I'll show you that in more detail in a moment, because we're going to jump into the program right now. We're going to start by uploading some pay slips. So here we are back in our Sage 50 payroll program. So I'm going to click payroll now on the bottom left hand corner. You'll notice by the last calculated date, we've gone through enter payments. We've entered the employee's pay. So last calculated is the 30th of May. We've not updated records yet, because as soon as you update records, pay slips then become classed as historical. So they are a pre-update report or a pre-update task. So once you've entered the employee's pay, simply click upload online payslips, which is part of your tasks list here. Remember, the order that you would go through tasks is from the top to the bottom. So that's a quick, handy way of remembering which one you should do before which. So let's go ahead and click upload online payslips. And we receive this window, which you saw in the screenshot on the presentation. And as I mentioned, we have the two options on the right-hand side. We can either publish immediately by selecting this, or publish on a selected date by selecting this and then entering the date. As I mentioned, we want to give the employees their payslip just a couple of days before payday, which will be the 28th. So I can select the 28th. It's completely down to you which date you want to choose. There's no right or wrong with that, as long as they have their payslip on or before the day that they are paid. So we'll choose the 28th, and then we'll just hit Publish Payslips. And we get a nice green bar scrolling along. And of course, the same caveats go in terms of number of employees and of course your internet connection. We only have 5, so it went through quite well. And there you go, we've got a nice message to say our payslips have been successfully set to publish on the date specified. Again, you have a link to log into the portal on this window as well. But we'll click close because we're going to jump in and do some P60s, and then we'll jump into the portal itself. So for P60s, as I mentioned, you need to make sure you change your process date to the 5th of April. And it's the 5th of April for the relevant tax year that you're wishing to upload P60s for. So if you want to upload any historical P60s, it would just be the 5th of April for that particular tax year. So for example, last tax year was the 5th of April 2023, so we just finished it. Tax year before would have been the 5th of April 2022, so on and so forth. Click OK. Then you want to head down to payroll year end in the bottom left hand corner. Click yes to this message. You want to include your employees, and then you just want to skip to the produce P60 step. So we'll go ahead and click that box. Then it's the upload button. So we'll click upload now. There you'll see our employees who we set up for online services in the setup steps appear. Again, it's a case of ticking those employees you wish to upload for. If you want to do them all, it's the top left hand tick box, or of course ticking them individually. Then click upload. Now with P60s, whilst we wait for these to upload, they are uploaded and published immediately. So there's no choice to set for a specific date. As soon as you hit that upload button, as you can see by that message, they've been successfully published as well. So payslips and current payslips are the only ones you can set up for a specific date. P60s and historic payslips, they're published immediately always. So again, similar window to what we saw, successfully published. So let's go ahead and access our online services now. So that will open up a web browser if I just drag it over for you. And again, we'll be entering in our Sage ID. So that Sage ID that we entered at step 1. Then click continue to sign in. Pop the password in again. And click login. This will take us to our company directory where you can see those employee profiles that we have created. So we've got our 5 employees here. Now you can view an individual's payslip or P60 by selecting their title or their name. So we'll go into employee 5 here. Then go to payslips and P60s. And then across the top, you've got 2 tabs, one for payslips and one for P60s. Now you'll notice with payslips that the most recent one is the 30th of April, but we've just done May's. But remember, they're not published yet. They will be getting published on the 28th of May. So but keep that in mind in a minute. But if you want to view the P60, because remember they were published immediately, you can view it here simply by clicking on the 3 dots and clicking view. Can of course download that or save it as a PDF for your own records if you wish to. So I mentioned the pending payslips weren't appearing in the employee's profile. However, if you want to view those pending payslips and the P60s all in one place, if you click on company payslips on the left-hand side, then again, you've got the 2 tabs across the top here, one for payslips, one for P60s. And on payslips, you'll see there we have our pending payslips that are due to be published on the 28th of May. So here they are. And again, if you wish to view it, just click on the row and you'll be able to view the payslip. And once more, you've got options of downloading as a PDF, or if you want to download multiple, tick the ones you wish to download. So there's our 5 pending payslips, and click download as PDF or download as a zip folder. Same goes for P60s. If I click on the tab, there you'll see our P60s that we have uploaded and published today. Similar rules, click on the name or the row, tick the boxes if you wish to download multiple. So that is setting up and then uploading some payslips and P60s as a live demonstration. So we went through the 7 setup steps from 1 to 7. Bearing in mind some of them within that setup steps are optional, such as the holidays and of course uploading historical payslips. Then we went and uploaded some current payslips and of course the P60s, which now leads me on to managing your online portal and to hand back over to Duncan, who'll be taking you through this section. So it's back over to you, Duncan.
Thank you very much, Calvin. So you've seen there the basics on setting up online services and also uploading and publishing your payslips and P60s. But I wanted to give you a bit of a closer look at the online portal, just to explain how to navigate and where to find some of the key settings involved in maintaining that portal. So on the current slide, we've got a bit of a summary of the various areas available to you. So most of the navigation is done on the left-hand side of the screen, where you can access a dashboard containing useful links, including a link to add your company logo. There's a company payslips area that you've just seen with Calvin, where you can view all scheduled or published payslips and P60s. There's the company directory, where you can view the employee profiles. We're going to take a closer look at that area in the demo. There are a couple of useful reports on terminated employees and access logs, and I want to show you some of the settings, including the employee permissions and some of the global permissions controlling what is visible within an employee profile. So let's just go into the demo, and as a reminder, to log into the portal, you can either go to the company tasks and into online services settings. And you can use this link down in step 7 to go directly to your online services portal. And the sign-in address at the top here will be specific to that company. So if you have added your own logo, rather than seeing the Sage logo here, you would see your logo for your online portal. So we're just going to enter the admin email address. So we're going to sign in as an admin. We'll pop the password in as well. And you can see here that I've landed in the company directory where we can see the employee profiles and also this admin profile. And you can tell which is the main admin that set up online services, because that will be the one that has an email address as the name rather than an employee's name itself. So just to run through the navigation, it's these options here on the left-hand side. And if you can't see the labels, you just click on this little arrow here at the top. There is a handy search feature. So if you have a lot of employees, you can type some characters of their name, and then you can easily access their employee profile. And if we start with the dashboard, this is where there are some useful links. And if you're signed in as an admin, there is a link to the settings where you can add your company logo. The next links are more relevant to the employees themselves. So they can add more information about themselves and store it in HR, and also download the HR mobile app. And there's this link where you can explore the knowledge base for Sage HR. So all of the help content is available there. You've then got your employee payslips, which you've already seen in Calvin's demo. So payslips and P60s all in one place, including those that are pending and not yet available to employees. And then the next option down is our company directory. So you've seen you can access an employee profile by simply clicking on the name or on the tile. And what I wanted to show you at this point was some of the other information that you can see within the employee profile. So let's just go into employee 1, and there is an option where a photograph can be uploaded. So you could do that, or the employee could do that themselves when they're signing. And you'll see their main details here on the first tab, including the access level for this profile, which for any employee should be set to employee, so that they only have access to their own information. Now, if for any reason you need other people to be able to log in as an admin so that they can view other people's payslips and amend any of the settings, so you could have colleagues in your payroll team that need admin access, you could amend the access level for their profile and set it to administrator, and that would then give them the same access that you have. There are also an option for terminating an employee. So this is what you do when an employee leaves, but I will come back to that later on in the demo. You then have a section for personal details, and you'll find that these are blank for any existing employees, but you could fill them in here for information, or the employee could fill them in themselves. You can record bank account information in HR. Again, it's just for information at this point, so it won't sync back to Sage 50 Payroll, but it is somewhere where you can keep this information. And then you've got the section for viewing the payslips and P60s. So this is exactly what the employee would see, their payslips and P60s, but just the ones that have been published. So these profiles were created when we uploaded payslips, and later on I'm going to show you a way that you can add an employee in HR and then import that information into Payroll. I'm just going to move on to the next section, which is the reports. So from here you have a list of terminated employees. So these are employees that have left. There is an option where you can export employee information from HR. And then there's this section, the access logs, where you can check who has logged in recently within the last 24 hours or the last 30 days, which of your users are using the mobile app, and any employees that have never logged in. So if you've recently set this up and employees have missed the welcome email, there is an option to resend the welcome email for anyone that's never logged in from this section here. So that's the main navigation, but the other area I want to show you are the settings. So to find the settings, you'll need to click on your admin username at the top of the screen, and then just click on the settings option just underneath. Now on the general settings, you'll find a couple of ways of uploading a logo. So the header logo would replace the Sage logo in the top of the screen when you're logged into the portal, and you can also add your own logo for your company login page and notification emails. So it's entirely optional, but if you are going to add your own logo, especially for the header, it's worth doing it as a transparent background because it will be sitting on a black banner. Next up, I want to show you some of the permissions. So if I click onto permissions, I'm going to start with global permissions. So from here, you can actually control which of the fields show up in the employee profiles. So if, for example, you don't want them to have access to that bank accounts tab, you can clear this box to switch that feature off. You can do exactly the same for the personal details tab. And then the main fields within the employee profile, you control which of these are visible. So if you're not worried about LinkedIn or Skype names or anything like that, you can switch those fields off so that they're not visible in the portal. And these settings would apply across all profiles, including any admin level users. The other one I want to show you is the employee permissions. So from here, there's a couple of key settings. The first one is controlling whether or not employees can see the contact cards of other employees. So the default setting is that employees would only see their own information. But these other two options will allow them to see other employees via the company page. So it gives them their own company directory, but it would only be names and contact details. It wouldn't be access to the full profiles. It's only admins that would be able to see that for other employees. And the other setting is in relation to leavers. So once you've terminated an employee in HR, it means they lose access to their HR information, but you can allow them access to their payslips after their termination date by ticking this box. And you can set a period of either 7 days, 30 days, or 1 year for them to have that access. So I'm going to set it up, giving them 1 year of access from their termination date so that they've got plenty of chance to get in and download any payslips and P60s that they want to keep. And then just a few of the boxes that you can allow or deny employees permissions to edit. So if you want them to be able to upload their own profile picture, for example, make sure you've got this box ticked. So I'm just going to go ahead and save these changes. Those were the settings I wanted to show you, and that is a very quick tour of the online portal. So next up, I want to talk about starters and leavers. So we'll begin with starters, and there are two ways to create the employee profile in Sage HR. So the first way we've already been over. You set up the employee in Sage 50 Payroll as usual, and at the point you upload their first payslip, so it'll be a current payslip for a new starter, or if you're just setting up for an existing employee, could be a historical payslip. That's the point at which the HR profile is created. However, there is another way, and if you are thinking about using Sage HR more widely and storing your employee details in the Sage HR system, you might be interested in setting up the employee profile in HR and then importing that employee into payroll when it's time for them to be paid. So I want to give you a quick demo of that process just to show you how it works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new profile either by clicking on the add button here or this plus button at the top where I can go to new employee. I'm then going to enter some basic details. So I'm just going to pop the employee's name in. As you can see, it's very imaginative. We're going to put the email address in that they're going to use for their login. And then we can record the employee's start date. And actually started back on the 2nd of May. Now, at this point, you can generate the welcome email so that the employee can create their login, they can create their password so that they'll have a profile in HR, but they wouldn't actually see any payslips until you've uploaded their first payslip when they get paid for the first time. Now, if you don't want them to access their profile until that first payslip has been uploaded, you can clear this box and then they'll get the welcome email at the point you upload instead. So we're going to create this account, this employee profile, and what we can then do is we can fill in some additional employee details. So we can set the title, we've got the name entered, we can set the date of birth for the employee and the gender. I'm just going to pop a couple of address lines in. And then in the section underneath, you would enter the details of any starter form that they have provided. So this is usually a P45 if they've been given one from their previous employer. So you can select P45 and start a checklist, which will then allow you to enter the P45 information. But around this time of the year, do look out for out-of-date P45s. So if you do have a P45 from a previous tax year, it shouldn't be entered into your payroll. So if it isn't for the current tax year, just advise us here to supply the correct starter declaration only. So in this case, the employee doesn't have a P45, so we're going to go with starter checklist, and we're then going to choose the starter declaration that they signed on that form. We can then enter the NI category and NI number, any student or postgraduate loan details, payment method and pay frequency. And we can go ahead and save that record. So that's entered the basic detail and that has created the profile in HR. But as you can see, there's a message saying it's waiting to be approved in Payroll, which means it'll be available to import into the payroll system. So returning to the company directory, we can see that it's set them up, but they are currently missing their payroll information because we haven't yet imported the details and uploaded a payslip. But when it comes to processing your pay, what you can now do, because you've set them up in HR, is from your payroll tasks, there is an option to import employee data. So you'd run this at the start of your pay run, and it will then check to see if any information has been entered into HR for any new starters. So we'll just wait for that to pop up and let us know. And what we should find here is that we have one new starter to import. So we've got this number one here in the starters section. So I can click onto that. And it's then going to show me the employee details that were entered in HR. And we can look at the finer detail if we need to and make any changes required at this point. And if you're happy with the information, it's just a case of selecting the employee and clicking import. I'm going to click yes to proceed. And it's now telling me that that one record has imported successfully. So I can close out of these screens and we can see that employee 6 has now been added to my list. What I can then do is I can add any further information that I need to the employee record. And on the analysis tab, we can enable them for online services. And I'll then copy their email address into the online services email address section just here. So when they are due to be paid, which in our case will be at the end of May, we can enter their payments for the month. And as you saw earlier, you can upload an online payslip. Just for this demo, I'm going to publish this one immediately. And you'll see that the payslip has been successfully published. And if I just refresh this page, you can see that they're no longer missing payroll information, and they do now have their first payslip that I've just published available to view. So just an alternative way there of setting up a new starter. So you can read more about that process from the link on screen. Just want to touch on leavers as well. So there's a couple of things you need to do with leavers. So within HR, you will need to terminate the employee who is leaving. So that will terminate their profile. And if you've set it up, it will give them access for that limited amount of time beyond their termination date to download their payslips. And then the second step is to enter those same leaving details into Payroll once you've updated their final payment. So you can either do that the traditional way by running the leaver wizard in Payroll, or you can go back to that import option. And if you've terminated them in HR, it will allow you to import the leaving date from HR into Payroll. And then to produce the P45, you would run that from the main reports. So I'll just remind you where that terminate option was. So I'm going to return to the company directory, and it's actually the same employee that we've just taken on who's decided to leave. So I've actually gone and got another job. So I've got into their employee details, and if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I've then got the option of terminating them. You can record their last working day. So I've only done a couple of weeks. The reason for leaving, any additional comments, and then you can hit this terminate button. So that will deactivate the employee profile with effect from this date. But because in our settings, we've given them access for 1 year after their termination date, they'll still be able to sign in to view that payslip, download it if they need to. So they are now in the terminated employees list. And after their last working day, they will also be removed from our company directory. So that's leavers, nice and straightforward. And the last thing I want to cover, the last process, is how to change an employee's email address. So because there's a link formed between Payroll and HR, it isn't quite as simple as amending the email address in one or the other systems. So this is the process you would need to follow if an employee's email address has changed, and it would actually remove the old profile from Sage HR, and it would set up a brand new one using the new email address. So first of all, you would terminate the existing profile in HR, following the steps I've just shown you. You can choose any termination reason, and maybe in the notes say that it's a change of email address. You then need to go a step further and delete the employee profile in HR. Once you've done that, you can amend the email address stored in the analysis tab in Sage 50 Payroll. And then if you go into your online services settings, you can upload historical payslips which will then create a new profile with the new email address so that the employee can log in and access those historical payslips that you've just uploaded. So when you terminate, it puts them into the terminated employees list, and then to remove the profile, it's this button here that you would need to click. So you would delete it from here, and then in Payroll, you change the email address on the Analysis tab to the new one, and it was back into the Online Services settings to upload the historical payslips. So again, with the change of email address, we do have a support article which will run you through all of those steps. So we just want to finish things off today by showing you the employee side. So we'll take a quick look at the employee portal, and Calvin's going to cover the Sage HR app. Very similar structure to the admin side of the portal, but with less links, so less options, and only usually viewing the employee's own details. So I'll just show you where the employee would log in. So if I just open a different browser, an employee would go to sage.hr from their browser. They would hit the sign in option here at the top. They'd pop their email address in and their password. And that's them in. So they've got a dashboard with some quick links to view payslips, download the HR mobile app. They can view their profile. So if you give them access to the personal and bank accounts information, they can view and edit that information themselves. But the main area they'll be using is payslips and P60s. And as you can see, this is the exact same view that you saw as the admin profile. The only difference really is that they can't delete them. So they can view them on screen, save as a PDF, also have access to their P60s as well. So just a case of going to sage.hr in a browser, or the alternative is to use the HR app. So let's just bring Calvin back. I'll give you a quick overview of the app. So back to you, Calvin.
Thank you so much, Duncan. Okay, so let's have a look at that mobile app. So if I bring up my screen there, we'll show you those screenshots that we have from the app. Fortunately, I'm not able to show you a live mobile phone at this point. However, the link on this particular section of the handout does have a wonderful video that you can go and watch if you wish to learn a little bit more about the HR app. So it is free to download, and it's available on most of the app stores that you can find. So your Apple Play Store, and of course Google Play Store as well. So Android and Apple. And the screenshots we have here are payslip orientated. So you'll see that you have that first screenshot on the left when you log into the app and open it up. You'll then be selecting or tapping on payslips and P60s, which then takes you into that middle screenshot, giving you a nice overview of the payslip. So your gross and net, as well as your overall net pay as well. So you can see that nice little pie chart there. If you'd like to drill down more, simply tap on the payslip that you want to look at, and then you'll get that screenshot on the right-hand side, which of course you can as well download and save to your device. Now, it is optional to get the app. It's just a really convenient way for employees to be able to access their payslips and their P60s on the go, wherever they are, whether at home or on holiday, potentially when they've been paid. They can view their payslip a lot more conveniently with the app as well. So it is optional. You can still use just the web browser if they prefer, but it's a great way of being able to access those payslips. So that being the app, that does bring us to the end of the session mostly, but I do want to run through just some further support before we do finalize things. And that is the Help Center first and foremost, which is sage.co.uk/help. So here is where you can search our knowledge base. So if you do have any specific queries about online services or payslips, whether you're up and running or you're using it and you have a question that you might have thought about when the session has ended, pop over here and type it in that search bar and you can have a look through. Now you can use this for anything Sage 50 payroll related as well. So it isn't just for online services. But you can find support guides as well. So all of the setup steps that we went through today can be found in that online services section within our help center as well. You also have access to future webinars here. So there is a webinars tab in the top right hand corner, which takes you to an article which has the schedule, which we do update regularly. So please do keep an eye on that or bookmark it if you want to come and join us for any more Sage 50 payroll webinars. And that's on a variety of topics, such as next week we have one on the IR secure mailbox. We've still got more sessions on getting started with Sage HR online services as well coming up. So it's definitely worth having a look. There are videos in here, and of course, if you desperately do need to speak to us or one of our team, you can do so via the get in touch options within the help center as well. And last but certainly not least, Sage University. If you want to expand your Sage payroll learning and become an expert, just as we are, then you can head on over to Sage U and access free e-learning, free Sage payroll certification, and of course, bite-sized learning as well. And I did mention like us, because some of the training that we have to go through, it can be found in Sage University for you guys to do as well. So it's definitely worth having a look at if you do get the time, and as it can be done in your own time and at your own pace as well. It can be really convenient as well. I appreciate everyone's very busy these days, but if you ever do want to get some time, Sage U is a great place to go. So that brings us to the very end. We will stick around to make sure as many questions are answered as possible before Duncan pops back to say our final goodbyes. Thank you so much from me for everyone who has attended today. I hope you've enjoyed the session. You will be directed to a short feedback survey when the session comes to a close, or you do leave that session. It does mean quite a lot to both myself and Duncan if you can fill that in, take that small amount of time, because we do love to hear what you think about the sessions and where we can potentially improve. And what new ideas we can come up with, and we can't do that without your feedback. So thank you so much in advance for that. So I'm going to jump on mute now and help out with those questions, and Duncan will be back later to say goodbye. Thank you again.
So hi again, everyone, and thanks for sending your questions in. I think we've got round to providing all of the answers there. So hopefully you've seen those in the Q&A section. We obviously passed our finish time now, so we are going to wrap things up. I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of myself and Calvin to thank you all for joining us at the webinar today. I hope it's given you a good introduction to Sage HR online services, and for those of you that will be setting it up, I hope that all goes smoothly for you. But with that said, we're going to close things down now. So thanks once again for your time today. Enjoy your weekend, and maybe we'll see you on some of our other webinars soon. So goodbye for now.